Guys, it's finally that time of the year again. Football's back. I know, like, we had the Thursday night game, but finally, football's back. I mean, I had to pull out the Terry McLaurin jersey for this one. It's crazy, and I mean, I kind of like what happened in week 1. I mean, if you couldn't already tell. Oh, crap, my mic. So sorry about that. I don't know if that made a loud noise or not. Hopefully it didn't. Anyway, so basically what we're going to do is we're going to go through game by game, talk about what happened, and yeah, we're just going to like let you know what happened this week, just in case maybe you missed a couple of games, maybe you watched a game but you didn't go online and check out the scores. Yeah, so the first game we're going to talk about are the Jets. We're gonna be pretty brief with all the games. I want to go over every game each week, so I don't want to like go in depth. All right, so first off, we have the Jets versus the Bills. This one is kind of weird because the Jets kind of started coming back towards the end. They were knocked 21-3 in the first half, and they came back and they made it 27-17 in the second half, which again is still being blown out. But I mean, it still was pretty good. And I mean, Le'Veon Bell got injured in this one, which is no good for them. They relied on Darnold, and I mean, he made some good throws towards the end there. He got him. I mean, obviously he got him a couple touchdowns there towards the end, but really, I mean, the Bills looked dominant. Josh Allen had over 300 passing yards. Anyone who doubted him as a passer is gone now. They look like they are ready to heavily compete for this division. So yeah, the Bills, they get knocked 27-17. Or they win 27-17, and yeah, it's kind of like I kind of thought it was. I mean, the Bills, they didn't look too good. The Jets didn't look too good, and the Bills looked great. The next game we're going to talk about is the Packers v Vikings game. This one was it was pretty bad. I mean, it ended up being 43-34, Packers winning, but for most of it, it was the Packers just completely just slapping the Vikings. Up until the end, the Vikings scored 24 points in the fourth quarter. I mean, at the beginning of the fourth quarter, it was 10-29, and then they just, I mean, it's kind of sad. I honestly thought the Vikings would win this one, but a good thing is that the Packers played amazing. Devontae Adams had a heck of a game. The Vikings defense just failed, but on the bright side, the Vikings still did score 34 points against that Packers defense, so they are still looking pretty good, and they are still looking somewhat playoff bound. The next game, Eagles versus Washington. Oh yes, I don't know. I might have to start making like separate videos because I just want to go on and on and on about this game. But the Monday night game starts in like 30 minutes, and I just want to go ahead and do pretty briefly. But Eagles are up 17-0. Washington comes back, scores 27 straight points. Basically, what Washington did, they probably might have the best defensive lines in football. Got 8 total sacks, 2 interceptions, and a fumble recovery. Forced by Ryan Kerrigan. It was amazing. They got 3 turnovers, like I just said, 8 sacks, and they turned the ball game around, and they just, I mean, their offense really didn't have to do anything. Their offense, I mean, they were still getting big plays every now and then. They were running the ball pretty well, I think. 2 rushing touchdowns. Dwayne Haskins also did have a passing touchdown in the second quarter. It was their first score of the game. So really, I think if they can just rely on this, if they let Dwayne Haskins still kind of develop, he looked pretty good. He had an 83 passer rating. He looked pretty good. I mean, he didn't have any interceptions. He had a touchdown. Definitely much better than a lot of people thought he would. So if he continues to develop, I think we probably have a pretty good chance of beating the Cardinals next week. So, I mean, I'm pretty excited about that. The Eagles, their offensive line, I saw someone that said that their offensive line looked like whenever the defense picks the right play in Tecmo Bowl. Like, it was terrible. 8 sacks, so, yeah. So now, technically, Washington is the number 1 seed in the NFC. That's just, I don't know how that happened. Probably it means absolutely nothing. At best we're gonna get the 7th seed. At best we'll win the division. But right now, I mean, I'm very, very, very excited for the rest of the season. Let's move on to the Browns versus the Ravens. This is the biggest blowout right now. I honestly thought that maybe the Browns would be able to turn things around. They don't have too much pressure on them. They do have lots of talent. They got rid of the bad coach Kitchens, and they got beat 38-6 by the Ravens. I mean, really, it's just, when you think about it, they got beat. In week 1 of last year, they got beat worse by the Marcus Mariota quarterbacked Titans, and now they had a slightly better game against a way better team. So, you could take that as maybe they're getting better. If you're a Browns fan, that's what you're thinking. The Ravens just like their same old selves. They just completely dominated on both sides of the ball, and it was kind of pathetic to watch. Moving on to game number 5 we're going to talk about. If there's any way that I should be doing this, you let me know. I could see how this might be a bit boring. So this one, the Colts play the Jags. This is the one that knocked my socks off when I saw who won. The Jaguars managed to beat them 27-20. And when you look at it, Gardner Minshew had a 95% completion rating. 19 out of 20 passes, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. And then James Robinson, their running back, had a great game. We all thought they'd be tanking. And again, all this is week 1. And week 1 anything could happen. And obviously a lot of stuff is randomly happening. For all I know, that Washington's going to go 1-15. But James Robinson, their running back now, had an amazing game. Phillip Rivers didn't play too well. He threw 2 picks. So really, if you're a Jaguars fan, I kind of feel what you're feeling, except for you're probably ecstatic. I personally thought the Colts were going to be a top 10 team this year. If they play all year like they played in week 1, it's not going to end up that way. All right, and the next game, might be like the closest game this week. We have the Raiders playing the Panthers. It was 30-34. I actually watched this game. It was 6-7 lead changes. They were going back and forth. At one point, the Raiders were up 27-15, and I kind of thought it was over, and then they managed to come back, and the Panthers are winning 30-27. It was a very good game. Both of them played pretty well. The only thing about it I could say is that Teddy Bridgewater missed a couple of throws that I thought he should make. So really, it's they kind of came to a rocking start, but I do think that they played better than I honestly expected. The Raiders kind of played like I thought they would. They did get 30 points, the Panthers. So, we'll have to see if they can keep it up. But right now, I'm kind of doubtful that they'll be able to put up this kind of great performance in other games. Anyways, next up, we have another comeback victory. The Bears came back to beat the Lions down 23-6. This was insane. Mitch Trubisky threw 3 touchdown passes in the final quarter. They outscored him 21-0 in that last quarter, and they knocked it out of the park. Now, given Mitch Trubisky, they were all pretty short passes, but he did make some pretty long throws. Trubisky, all the haters have kind of been silenced. Again, week 1, no preseason. Anything could happen. It's going to take us until week 3 or 4 to actually know what each team is going to be for the rest of the season. So right now, weeks 1, 2, it's going to be kind of risky. Adrian Peterson got 93 yards. That was amazing. He was playing like his old self, kind of making Washington wish he was still on their team, even though they just won by 10 points. So the Bears beat the Lions 27-23. Next up, we had the Seahawks playing the Falcons. We all kind of knew what was going to happen. Seahawks absolutely pummeled the Falcons. Matt Ryan managed to, by that I mean the score. They beat him by 13 points. Matt Ryan threw for 450 yards. He had 3 receivers that caught for over 100 yards in this game. Todd Gurley had a monster game. Dang. You talk about a great, 450 yards? That is insane. Come on. And they lost by 13 points. It's probably because Russell Wilson threw 4 touchdowns and Jamal Adams had 8 tackles. The Seahawks offense showed up. They managed to score 38 points, and they made the Falcons look silly. Calvin really had 2 touchdowns. The Falcons, you play like this all year, you'll knock my... I don't see how you guys did that. You guys don't even have that much talent. I don't understand it, but this is what happened, so I'm going to have to talk about it. Again, anything could happen in week 1. The next one we have the Dolphins, Patriots. Cam Newton's debut with the Patriots went great. He had 15 carries, 2 touchdowns. He only threw 19 times and he carried it 15 times. They ran the ball heavily and they beat the Dolphins by 10 points, 21-11. Ryan Fitzpatrick threw 3 picks. I know a few, it was 1 or 2 of them went to Stephon Gilmore himself, the man, the myth, the legend. And really the Patriots, in my opinion, I think they're going to have, I know I just said that Cam Newton ran the ball for a lot, but I think, they had kind of like an easy game. You're going up the Ryan Fitzpatrick-led Dolphins. You're going to have to start letting Cam throw the ball a lot more as the season goes on. You can run the ball with him a lot. You can run the ball with Sony Michel a lot, which they did. But you're also going to have to throw the ball a lot. So if they do end up heavily focusing on the run, then like a team with a really good front seven could completely stunt them. And that they're not ready for that. Next one, we have the Chargers played the Bengals, and the Chargers managed to pull out the win. They scored 10 straight points in the fourth quarter to pull off the 7-point win. The Bengals kicker missed like a 31-yard field goal. It was insanely short. Heck, I could have made it. Not really. But still, Joe Burrow played pretty well. He had a rushing touchdown. He was making some good passes. And I'm kind of excited to see what he can do. In his first rookie game, he almost gets the win. We'll see. He'll probably have a pretty good game against the Browns on Thursday. We'll just have to see. Next up is another shocker. The Cardinals beat the 49ers 24-20. I know the Cardinals are going to be good, but I didn't know they'd be good this early in the season. Kyler Murray rushed for 93 yards, and that's pretty good. And DeAndre Hopkins had an amazing game. I started him on my fantasy team, and whoa! And for the 49ers, Raheem Mostert played terribly. Raheem Mostert, they went through this whole deal. He was requesting trades and all this, all for him to not play very well in week 1. Again, this is week 1. He'll probably have pretty good games as the season goes on. But as of right now, it's looking like the Cardinals might have a pretty good chance of beating this division, and the 49ers might be in a little bit of a Super Bowl hangover. And I think, we have 2 more games to talk about. If you don't know what I'm looking at this notebook. I have all the notes that I need written down here. The Saints managed to beat the Buccaneers 34-23. I was watching this game, and the score does not do it justice. The Saints absolutely took a dump all over the Buccaneers. Sorry for that. It was 17-7 at one point, and the Buccaneers, they barely managed to score a couple points. A lot of field goals towards the end there. They looked great. They came out on the first drive and they managed to, Tom Brady rushed for a touchdown. They looked dominant. They looked like every Buccaneers fan wanted them to look. And then it just crumbled. And, Tom Brady was throwing balls 15 feet over people. It was very, very bad. He only targeted Mike Evans 4 times. One of them was for a touchdown towards the end there. But still, Mike Evans only caught 1 ball. That's not good. Rob Gronkowski didn't do very much. The Buccaneers, they got to step it up. I know they still scored 23 points on the Saints, and they are still, even if they play the way they played last night on every game, they are still probably going to make the playoffs. But really, they probably need to step it up if they have any hope of really going to the NFC championship game or anything. And the last game, which is another game that I watched, we had the Rams beating the Cowboys 20-17. How many times can I stress this? Dak Prescott isn't very good, and the Rams are. A lot of people always get mad at me because I try to say that the Rams are pretty good, and a lot of people try to get mad at me because I say that the Cowboys aren't very good. Look at this. The Rams completely, they came out on the drive, and on their first drive, and they set the tone for the rest of the game. They were making first downs on every play. I think their first play was a 20-yard gain from just a little short pass that went for a long, you know what I'm talking about. Dak Prescott had a pretty bad game. I mean, Jared Goff, he only threw one interception. That was about it. Malcolm Brown they were just handing the ball off heavily. They managed to run the clock into the ground. And that was Sunday Night Football for you. So, that was my recap. It was 16 minutes long. I hope you do enjoy it. If you want me to do something different, maybe you want me to, if you tell me to take less time with each game, I will take less time with each game. I can do that. I just give me criticism. I want it. Please, okay? So yes, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you don't hate me because I'm wearing a Terry McLaurin jersey. We're gonna start doing these every week. We're gonna start doing predictions for each week, every single week. We're gonna have what's it called? Power rankings every single week. We have a lot of stuff planned, and there hasn't been any news for the past couple of days, but we do have a daily show called the NFL Beans. That as long as there is at least one thing newsworthy that has something to do with a team either signing, cutting, or extending a player, I'll put it on there. Or like anything, like Ron Rivera got cancer, that was on there. Like a lot of stuff is on there. But yeah, yeah. I'm still. If you're wondering why I'm so stuttering during this, I'm still so shocked by the fact that we managed to beat the Eagles. All right, I'll see you guys in the next one.